You are watching the Exercise, Science, and Culture Show. I'm your coach, Matt Hines. This is the 4th episode. Today, I'm going to talk about at-home soft tissue release techniques, and I'm also going to talk to you about my new teams. But first, I want to let you all know that I'm going to do a giveaway. I'm going to give away 3 Theracanes. You ever seen one of those Theracanes? Oh, these things are awesome. It's one of the best tools. Actually, I'm talking about soft tissue release. And if you wanted one tool, the Theracane would be the one to get. And I'm going to give away 3 of those to the first 3 people who complete all of the pre-challenge steps. So you go through all the steps. You go through the goal setting process. You go through the physical assessment. You come up with a plan, and if you do all those steps, first 3 people to do it, they're gonna get a Theracane. So, all right. Now to our topic of the day: soft tissue release. What is soft tissue release? What is soft tissue? We're referring to muscles, ligaments, tendons, and including the fascia. And so soft tissue release is an advanced sports massage technique that is used to assess, stretch, and manage the soft tissues of the body. This approach to massage can often facilitate faster healing after an injury. So look, I'm not going to give you a bunch of studies. I'm going to refer you to one book. And in this book, they don't even talk that much about soft tissue release. They talk about therapeutic exercise in general, which I think is awesome. But I want to hone in on soft tissue release. And from what I see, this is something that's becoming more understood. There's a lot of research on stretching. There's not a lot of research on some of the other soft tissue release techniques that I'm going to discuss with you today, including what you could do with a Theracane. And so just know that. But I think the data is increasing, and it's showing, though it can't really be explain. It's hard to explain exactly what's happening here. And I'm not going to try to explain it. I'm just going to show you some techniques that I know that I've used. There's a lot of anecdotes and growing evidence to show that some of these techniques can be used to break out of a chronically painful condition of your joints. It could be in your joints. You could feel it in the soft tissue, but oftentimes soft tissue damage can lead to joint pain. And so this book that I'm going to refer you to is titled Therapeutic Exercises, Foundations and Techniques by Carolyn Kinzer, Lynn Allen Colby, and John Borstad. Here's what they say with massage and the purported benefit. Various types of massage can be used for their soft tissue mobilizing effects. For example, cross-fiber friction massage is used to mobilize ligaments and incision sites so they move freely across the joint. Cross-fiber massage is also used at the site of muscle scar tissue or tendon adhesions to gain mobility of the scar tissue. The intensity and duration of the technique is progressively increased as the tissue responds. So really quickly, as I understand it, generally your body's response to trauma, if you have a trauma to your soft tissues, your body responds by putting on connective tissue. And though that's a short-term, it's beneficial in the short term because it restabilizes that tissue and prevents further damage. In the long term, it may not be good because the connective tissue is not as pliable as your muscle tissue. And they use the word adhesions, and that's referring to, okay, so you have all these independent muscles. Take your quads, for example. There's 4 main quad muscles, but there's also a number of other muscles of your anterior leg, and they're all healthy tissue. You can contract one without contracting the other, so they'll glide nice and smooth. But if you have an adhesion, the connective tissue adhesion, when you contract one, it's going to have to fight against the other one. Okay, so you're going to be doing more work, less coordinated work, and so, but you can break that adhesion up. So let's talk about that. And just one more note before I demonstrate. I'll just say this. So you can't break out of every painful condition with at-home soft tissue release techniques. And also, there is no single technique to solve all the problems. But by trying a variety of these approaches, you may be able to break out of the painful condition. So, soft tissue is throughout your whole body, and you can do these sort of techniques on all of your tissue. I mean, through your face, massaging your cheekbones, down to your neck, everywhere. All across your body, pretty much every surface of your body, you can do some of these techniques. But there's some main areas that I'm going to focus on, and just like the biggest areas where there's either a lot of tendons going through, or they're associated with big prime mover muscles. So the traps, we got to address the traps. We got to address the lats. We got to go in all along the scapula here in the middle. We got to address the psoas muscle, which is easy to neglect with soft tissue. And really, by the way, just with the psoas right away, and to introduce the first style, and it's just like a self massage. You massage yourself. So you're with the psoas muscle, and this is kind of a strange area to massage, but and this is one of the only ways you can do the psoas is self massage. And so you can feel this band that runs, it connects up at your ribs, and it goes down to it crosses your hip bone. And this can get really tender and tight. And it can adhere to other structures of your abdomen. So you can work that out. Okay. So you got your psoas muscle, you got your glutes, you got your quads, you got your calves, and you got your feet. So I'm gonna mostly focus on upper back and ankle and lower leg, as I'm just gonna focus on those 2 areas. And I'm gonna show you a variety of different techniques that you can use and implements that you can use. So first, we'll talk about the foam roller. This is probably the most popular one, and all these things you can get super cheap. So I'll talk about the foam roller first, and I'll address my mid and upper back. I'm going to lay down, and I'm going to have it cross my scapula, and I can kind of bridge my hips up to put more weight into it. And the first thing I can do is I can just roll the extent of my shoulder blades, maybe go a little bit below the shoulder blades, right in this range here. Just let the shoulder blades relax. Now, another thing I can do is I can create, I can roll from side to side. So I'm going to roll to this side, and I'm going to go all the way in. So it's crossing my lat, and then it's going into my pec. Okay. And I can go from this side. I could probably only do one side at a time. If I had a longer roller, I could just roll that right over to the other side. And so this is really good because I'm addressing the lat and I'm addressing the pec together. I can also use this to get into my trap. It's a little difficult to do. I have to kind of wedge it in there, and I have to kind of bridge my hips up so that I'm pushing the weight of my trap into the roller, and I can roll it around a little bit in there. Okay, and then I can also, for the rollers, really good for your lower leg. And this is how I like to do the lower leg. I start down at the ankle, and I do I rotate at the hip, so it's crossing my Achilles tendon there. And then I scoot up, I go to the middle of the leg and I roll from side to side. And then I bring it up to the top and I roll from side to side. So there's a couple of different ways that you can apply the pressure. You know, I can go straight on it, but when I'm twisting, I'm kind of creating a shear force. And that, while doing a variety of these techniques, and also, so I have the roller facing this way, I can face it slightly different way. And I want to make sure that, but with that hip rotation, I'm getting all the soft tissues of my lower leg by rotating like that. Okay, great. Now this is kind of a blunt object. If you want to get a little bit more pinpoint, you probably want to use one of these. I mean, any ball works. Lacrosse ball, tennis ball. It doesn't really matter. But I got this one, and actually this is even better for the mid and upper back. And if I had a wall right here, I could show this a little bit better. But just the idea would be I put the ball against the wall and I stick it right in between my shoulder blades. You see where I got it? And then I can roll it all on the inner part in between my shoulder blade and my spine. I roll it right in there and I can get up into the traps pretty good. And one of the main areas to address with your shoulder that tends to get really bound up and a lot of adhesions form and it causes the shoulder pain. And this is maybe the most common thing is right in here. Okay, so you have your deltoid muscle, and then it kind of ends right here, and then right at the beginning of the scapula, there's this little valley right in here. Oh man, that gets really tender. But you can work all the way around. You may find that you have a tender spot in any place. So experiment with it, play with it, and. All right, let's go on to the flossing technique. Okay, so this is the same principle, and yeah, I don't have a great setup for this, but I'm just going to show you what I can do with these bands. So if I had a place where I could tie this up, I would tie it up so that it's just in place, and then I'm gonna get my shoulder girdle with this, and I'm gonna stick it. So I'm gonna stick it kind of on like a backpack. And since I don't have a holder here, I'm just gonna press. I'm gonna press the band out. And when I press out, it is pulling my tissue, my soft tissues this way. And it's creating that effect, that shear force that could possibly break some of those adhesions up. And this is like 2 for 1. This is strength and therapy. And this feels really good, actually. So highly recommend that. I have one of these sticks here too. And this is maybe the best thing that this stick can do better than anything else. The area that it can address better than anything else is your shin. Right in. Oh man, it feels amazing. Oh. So these are pretty simple. What else do I got? Let's go for okay, so all of those are creating compression and shear force. There's another technique that it actually creates space. It opens up the space that it is working. It's a cupping technique. Okay, you ever seen these cups? Check these out. It's literally a suction cup. And so when I put it on, it's going to have the effect of, it's like the opposite effect of the foam roller and the massaging techniques. So why don't I do this? I guess a good spot to do it is lower IT band right in here. And again, you can go up to your upper back. I would need a partner to put it on my upper back, but yeah, you just kind of stick it on there, and it's giving me a good amount of pull right here. So you can actually, it feels good to just kind of march in place because my muscle is contracting and relaxing. And so it's kind of I'm getting my muscle fibers sliding, and it's opening, creating a little bit of space, and perhaps in some areas it's the compressive therapy is not necessarily what you need. Maybe what you need is to create some space. And just by feel, I can feel that this area is one of those areas where I need to expand. The compression is not going to give me much relief. All right, so now let's talk about stretching, because stretching can also be a soft tissue release technique. And I might as well give you my piece on stretching. I think stretching is, it's awesome, obviously, if it feels good. And but here's the main thing about stretching: you have to do it with the universal posture in mind, okay? Because whatever way you stretch yourself into, you're just reinforcing that. So if you're reinforcing poor posture with your stretching, well, you just don't want to do that. So, and I'm going to use a common stretch as an example of this and how we can make this stretch work even better for us. And it's a tricep stretch. So, and the type of stretching we'll first do static stretching. Okay, so we're going to hold this stretch for between 15 seconds and even up to 1 minute. And there's benefits on either end. So let me show you this tricep stretch. I'm going to reach my arm down my back, and commonly folks will go like this. Their shoulder will be in an internally rotated position. As much as possible, we want to reinforce external rotation because that's how we tend to fall into the rounded shoulder and shrugged up position, trap dominant position. So I'm going to externally rotate my shoulder and stretch it from there. Now, a note on stretching. There's such a thing, if I was just relaxing, I guess that would be like the most passive of stretching. But actually, I'm flexing the oppositional muscles. I'm flexing my bicep and I'm flexing my deltoid so that I stretch my tricep and I stretch my lat on this exercise. Okay, so there are very few cases when you would actually do a passive stretch. You're always going to be active on the opposite end. And I'll go next to the active isolated stretching technique, which really hones in on this. And so the active isolated stretching technique is where I'm going to do pulses of the stretch. And I'm going to, as much as anything, I'm going to emphasize the flexion of the oppositional muscles. So I'll go back to this tricep stretch, and I'm going to flex to go as far as I can, and then get a little bit of extra assistance, and then I'm going to release. I'm going to relax. And then I'm going to stretch. I'm going to flex into that position, get a little assistance, and then I'll release that stretch. And then I would repeat that. That's the active isolated stretching technique. It's like a 2 to 5 second hold, and I'm really emphasizing flexing into that position, into that stretch. And then lastly, there are active stretches. So if I wanted an active stretch for my tricep, I can just raise my arms overhead, and then I'm just going to touch my shoulder and raise back overhead. Touch and raise, touch and raise. And I'm trying to keep my elbow back as I do this, keeping that good posture and trying to actually increase the range of motion or reinforce increased range of motion. And that's kind of a weird one, but another active stretch, I guess, for like your whole hip is something like a leg swing, where I'm here working my leg through a full range of motion rapidly, and it is having the effect of, that would offer you a temporary lengthening effect. It would generate blood flow, and in fact, if you're preparing for high intensity activities, it seems to me that what you'd want to focus on is active stretches to prepare for that activity. All right. Oh, so then we'll go on to heat and cold. Okay, heat and cold can be highly beneficial for stimulating a therapeutic response in our soft tissues. And I actually banged my ankle up pretty bad playing basketball 2 nights ago. So I'm gonna give myself a little dunkaroo in the ice tank here. This will probably feel amazing. Oh, oh, it's actually not cold enough. No, you want this thing to be real cold. And if I can stay in there for 2 minutes, and then I like doing contrast baths. So I can do this for 2 minutes, and then if I can run over to the shower, turn it on pretty hot, and put that on my ankle, that that may offer a little bit of relief. Say hello to my cats, Freddie and Sansa. Heat and cold. All right, but here's in final note on soft tissue release techniques from at home. Well, just across the board, when you release soft tissue, there's one problem. Overall, it's good, but there's one issue that you need to be concerned with, and that's the fact that you have destabilized the associated joints. And so you need to restabilize them. You need to just make sure that you gradually restabilize them. You don't want to roll the heck out of your glutes, for instance, and then and there's only so much you can do with like a foam roller. But if you got like a proper sports massage and they give you an intensive massage, I mean, they recommend that you really rest for 24 hours. And it's just the fact that your likelihood of injury is going to be decreased it's going to be increased after you destabilize those tissues. The soft tissue release has a destabilizing effect. So you just don't want to jump right into something like super high intensity. Your likelihood of injury will increase. And so I did a lot of work for my scapular region. So why don't I restabilize by doing a push-up position hold on a stability ball? Maybe I can do some push-ups on the stability ball, or maybe I can just do a plank. But this is something, this unstable surface will give me a little bit of work to have to restabilize and remake the connection between my my neurons and my musculature. All right. So one more thing for tonight, and I'm going to tell you about my new teams. I am going to be moving on from the YMCA, and I am going to be going and partnering with Ship City Fitness, and I'm also going to be partnering with the Bath Parks and Recreation Department. So I'm very excited about this. I think it's going to really open up some opportunities, and I feel like I'm just going to be able to serve the community to the best of my abilities, and that's my whole MO here. Okay, so Ship City Fitness, Brandon McCoy is the operator over there. He works with a lot of he teaches martial arts classes, and he also teaches high intensity interval training classes. He has a lot of folks that go through a weight loss challenge, and I am going to be bringing to the fold services for seniors. So Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I have a number of activities that will be focused for seniors, but really for anybody who is, I would say, pre or post rehabilitation. So I guess prehabilitation or post rehabilitation. Just on doing this kind of stuff that we're doing here and trying to find out exactly personalized training. We're going to really try to figure out the best exercises for each individual. And I have a number of services that I'll be offering over there, including classes, personal training, and one service that I'm looking forward to trying that I think it's a service that's growing in popularity in the industry, and that's a consultation, evaluation, and exercise prescription. It's basically 2 personal training sessions where at the end you will get a workout routine for you to do on your own independently. I think it's a really cheap and effective, well, not cheap, but it's affordable way and effective way to really help get some help on finding what the best exercises are for you to do. And so with the Parks and Rec, I am going to be doing, I'm going to be running a after school sports and games program. Yeah, Mondays and Wednesdays, 2:30 to 4. I'm going to be over there, and yeah, we're going to play games, but it's also just going to be a place to hang out. It's going to be at the Parks and Rec facility in the basketball court, and that's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm going to save the rest of this for another time, but I realize that this show is called Exercise, Science, and Culture, and I don't know how much I've gotten into the culture aspect of things, but what I've experienced over the last few months in the fitness industry, it's very interesting, and I'll just say that I'm learning a lot about the culture of the fitness business, and I'm just asking a lot more questions about what does it mean really to serve the community, and then really building community wealth, health, and autonomy, and how perhaps are some entities really just selling out to corporate interests and extracting wealth and power from the community. So pretty controversial stuff. You might want to stay tuned in a couple of weeks. I'll talk all about it. All right, so I'm going to catch up with you guys Monday. I'm going to talk about exercise prescription guidelines and planning to exercise, because we actually really got to get the ball rolling on this challenge. So I'll look forward to catching up with you guys then. Have a great week.